Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. This is the show, and I'm going to do it where we get under the hat of all things franchising. And it's a live show. Well, it's live if it's August the 5th at about 5:15 in the UK and 12:15 in bits of America for about 50 minutes. And because it's live, we encourage you to get involved, say hello. And get involved in our topics and our conversations because you are the producers and the directors of this show. I always say that when I start the show, this is what I have written down, not much. But at the end, after our wonderful conversations, I have a heck of a lot written down because it's a huge value to me, these conversations. So please say hello if you're here and get involved in our conversation. So what do we do? Each week we take a different topic and we take a lovely guest. And today is no exception to that. We have a fantastic guest. And our topic today is franchising fair? Now, it's going to be a very interesting topic because what does fair mean? What does it mean to you? You know, it doesn't mean equal, or does it mean equal? So we're going to get into this topic. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce our wonderful guest today. And it's Mike Herrera. Mike, welcome to the Franchise Show.
Harvey, how are you? Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm very good, and you're very welcome. So before we get into today's conversation, it would be great to have a little introduction from yourself as to your journey in franchising and where you're at now, and then we'll delve deep into whether we think franchising is fair.
Yeah. Well, it's been quite a journey, quite honestly, for the last almost 30 years in franchising, starting off as a franchisee myself for a good number of years. And then, of course, having an opportunity to meet a lot of different people in the franchising world. And after being able to sell my locations in my franchisee time, I moved on and talked to a few folks and got involved in the development side and kind of moved on to different companies, both small, mid-size, and large companies. And but it's been quite a journey, and I've learned a lot throughout the whole journey. And I think that's one of the most important things I take away from this journey is that yes, it's been a long journey, but I've learned a lot and met a lot of great people, both from the franchisee owner standpoint as well as colleagues in the industry, and I've learned a lot from them as well. And so now I'm in a position where I think this journey has landed me in a position where I'm now a co-founder and president of a company called CoolVu Glass and Surface Solutions here in Marietta, Georgia. And over the last 4 years, we've grown the actual franchisee network to a little over 125 franchise territories nationwide here in the U.S. So all things are good, and we're excited about our growth. But yeah, it's been quite an exciting journey, no doubt about it.
Fantastic. Well, look, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Mike. And as I say, it's fantastic to have you on the show. We are going to, before we get into this conversation today, we're going to say hello to a few people who have joined us here early on. We have Jeff Longley with us. Fantastic to have you with us, Jeff. Jeff has had many experiences in franchising here in the UK, both good and bad. And it's really good to have your experience and your thoughts on is fair, Jeff. So please get involved in the conversation, drop in your experience and your questions, and we're try and get to the root of this and at least make people think about whether franchising is fair and whether it's right for them. But it's great to have you with us, Jeff. We've also got Johnny Joseph with us. Johnny with us. He is a regular on the show. Johnny has put hi franchise folks from a sunny and perfect Los Angeles.
Well, real quick, Harvey, just so Johnny knows, I'm just south of him here in Orange County, Johnny. So you're right. It is bright and sunny today.
Excellent. Well, maybe the two of you can say hello at some point. Well, Johnny is a franchise auditor. So really take him all the way around the country, I know, and he has, and I think it'd be interesting to get your thoughts, Johnny, on, whether franchising, the elements that you're involved in at least, are fair. I know Johnny talks about royalties. Are they fair? Is it fair? Hello, my wife walking past, prove it's live. But it's really interesting to see whether royalties are fair. Is it fair to take that percentage of the profit? Is it fair to take it a different way? But look, great to have you with us, Johnny. Great to have your thoughts, and please get involved in the conversation as we continue today. We have the lovely Simon Wise with us, and Simon's put hello, franchise friends. Well, hello to you too, Simon. Simon always has some great points of discussion on our topic, so looking forward to hearing Simon's thoughts on is franchising fair. And finally, we have the lovely Tim Morris with us. Tim is one of our lovely supporters. And look at that, Tim. Your QR code is on the screen right now, my friend. Tim is, of course, from The Bridge, offering our franchise companies here in the UK some fantastic support. So it's fantastic to have you with us, Tim. He's put, good evening, everyone. Good to be here. Well, it's, of course, great to have you with us. So let's get into this, Mike. Give us your initial sort of thoughts on and takes on on our topic. Is franchising fair? Let's get right to the root of the subject today and start picking it apart. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think fairness, as you said earlier, is sometimes almost like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder, right? So is it fair? And everybody has their own kind of slant on what's fair and what's not fair. I think what's the way I look at it is when you have two parties coming together, and one party is providing an opportunity through their franchise brand and their business model, their products, their systems, their marketing strategies, all of those things, and the other parties come to the table to be able to take advantage of those opportunities and those systems and be a partner with them. I think it's really important as they get into the relationship that there should be complete transparency about the business and the model and all the support that's provided with the franchisor. At the same time, that transparency should also be communicated, that what's expected from them, the franchisee partner, right? That we expect you to go out and implement these strategies and these different programs in your local market. We count on you to do those things that we corporately can't do because we're not there in your local market. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you count on us to do things that you can't do on a larger scale, right? So I like to really kind of set it up in a way with our franchisee partners is that, you bear a responsibility in your local market to do certain things, and we bear a responsibility to do things that you can't do on a bigger scale. And we believe at the end of the day that if we communicate that to them and it's completely transparent, but it's reinforced in our relationship, not only at training, but beyond post-training, right? That we will end up having a relationship that does feel that it's very fair, right? That one is not doing more than the other, but they're working together. I like to say it this way. Our relationship will over time change with a franchisee, right? So it first starts off as very dependent. They're very dependent on us for a lot of things at the very beginning. It may be the first 6 months, first 9 months, whatever it may be. They're very dependent because they're still learning the business. They're still becoming educated in the business, right? They're becoming more confident in the business. And as that education and that confidence grows, they become even more passionate about their business. So we realize that there's going to be a level of dependency they're going to have on us at the beginning as far as helping and supporting them. Our team is well equipped to do that. Over time, they're going to become somewhat independent, not independent of the franchise, independent in the sense that they will be able to troubleshoot any issues that come up. they'll be able to kind of think on their feet more readily than they were before. And that's what I mean by independent, right? That they'll be able to do those things. But the third phase of our relationship which is, I believe, the beautiful place we all want to get to as franchisors and franchisees, is the interdependent relationship. That we rely on them to do things in the marketplace, local marketplace, that we can't do as good as they can. And they rely on us to do the things on a larger scale to do those things that they can't do, either do new product development, new marketing strategies, right? Operational improvements, technology changes and updates, right? All of these things. And so once we get to a point where our relation is that interdependent relationship and both parties work together and they're rowing in the same direction, yeah, I think that's when you've got something really beautiful there.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, you've made some really great points. I mean, as I say, I start off with nothing written down, but I've already got 2 pages of notes. So I love it. Look, I'm going to bring up a few points that you've touched upon here that really I find interesting. The first thing that in fact, you said it twice, the word transparency.
Yeah.
And I think that ironically, because you deal with Windows as well, I imagine it's
right.
even more relevant to your business. Right. But look, transparency in franchising is so important because, like you say, the relationship changes. And as long as a franchisee and a franchisor, you really know what your relationship and your responsibilities are, what's expected, and that you really get to the bottom of what this franchise is. Transparency is so important because then it feels fair, and it feels fair because it's going the way you expected it to go. So I love that. I love that word transparency. I think it's really key and really important. Now, another thing that I was going to pick up on what you've said, and we've got some great comments coming in, so we're going to get to those in a minute. But another thing I wanted to pick up on what you said was you used the word partner. And I think it's a really interesting word in franchising. It's often used, sometimes not used. Sometimes people use the word franchise owner. And partner is a strange one because partner suggests an equal split in everything. And like you've said, the interdependency, and I love that word, we'll get to that, but that changes throughout the relationship. There's a lot more dependency on the franchisor at the beginning, and then that's balancing, and then it sort of shifts like this as you go along. But it's never a clear-cut line. 50% of the work, 50% of this is with the franchisee and the franchisor. So I think the word partner has to be used carefully in franchising.
Yeah,
this is a really important conversation.
Yeah, I think it does too. At the same time, franchise owner has to be used carefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because actually, when you imply owner, are you implying that they own the brand? Are you implying that they own the systems? Right. I think a lot of it has to do with how you present it very early in the process and how you define that relationship. Right. That, when I use partner, franchisee partners, I use that in a way, not only in the early parts of meeting with candidates through my development team, but also in training and also beyond, in that we are partners in a sense that we have certain responsibilities, right? You have a responsibility to do certain things in your local market. We have a responsibility to do other things for you that you can't do, right? Think of it another way. Think of it more of a strategic partnership, right? It's strategic because they're doing, again, things in the local market that we can't do as good as they can, and vice versa. So it's very strategic. But yes, I don't disagree with you that, in some cases, some people might come out and say, well, that's a very, could be construed as being 50-50 partners. Well, I mean, there's partnerships out there where you're only 10%, you're only 15%. So it again, it's like the beauty, eye in the beholder, right? But I use it very carefully, and I explain to candidates what I mean by it, and our franchisees what I mean by it, and how we interpret that to mean. But I want them to feel that we are in some partnership here, right? It may not be an equal legal partnership, but there's a partnership here. And we're expecting you, as part of that partnership, for you to do the things that you need to do in your local market. And you're expecting from us to do the things that we need to do that you can't do. That's all. Yeah.
100%. I mean, some fantastic points again. Let's go to some comments now, because we've got some great comments coming in. I also want to say hello to a couple more people before we get into these comments today. We had the lovely Neil Newman with us. Neil's put, evening all, interested to hear more on this. Apologies to our US friends, morning. Of course, it's different times depending on where you are. That's the joy of having this live. And Neil is, of course, again, one of our lovely supporters from Gather, which is a platform that can gather all sorts of information about your franchisees and your franchisors. Let's have a look at who else we've got. We've got a LinkedIn user here that has said, hello, Tim and all. Well, hello to you too. Great to have you with us. Let us know who you are as well. And let's have a look at some questions. So let's have a look at this one from Simon. It's a big one, so I'm going to have to read it partly from the screen and partly from over there.
Okay.
It's fair if you do your homework properly and go in with your eyes wide open. If you are expecting to be a true business partner with a franchisor, you will be disappointed. You are using their brand, systems, know-how for a defined period of time. The relationship should be mutually beneficial, but it has to be weighted in the favor of the franchisor. It is their business. What do you make of that one, Mike?
No, I think there's some excellent points there. I do think that eyes wide open is definitely a necessity on both sides. That the candidate should come into the business with clear expectations of the business. The franchisor should make sure those expectations are reasonable, and so the person is making a wise decision, but also getting the right expectations. And I'm very frank about those things with our candidates. Is that, look, running a business is difficult, right? I mean, I'm very direct, and I say it's difficult. It can be also a very rewarding thing at the same time. But to come in to run a business, you have to be willing to do the things necessary to operate the business. Do you have to sometimes sacrifice time? Yes. Do you have to sacrifice capital, resources? Yes. These are things that you have to be willing to do in order to build a business. And if you're unwilling to do those things, then I would not get into a business. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It's just simply that you're not unwilling to do those certain things and give up certain things and sacrifice certain things. So I think absolutely the transparency part and making sure that the franchisees understand that and candidates understand that on the front end is important. I do also, yes, believe that you're right, that all the branding and the systems and all the products that have been developed and created all belong to the franchisor. And that also is very important that's communicated on the front end as part of that transparency, right? Mm-hmm. That we're basically awarding you a franchise, right? And we're giving you the rights to use our system, our brand, our product methodology, all the things that we give to you. And we give that to you as being a strategic partner with us in the local market. You're going to implement those strategies and programs. So absolutely. I think the other thing that I did see here in the question was being able to have a relationship that mutually benefits both parties, right? Now, it's great that the word equal wasn't in that, because it can't be equal, right? There's a significant amount of investment that the franchisor has invested on the front end to build out everything, right? And also the franchisor is looking for a business that's going to provide them a recurring revenue, right? And so it's never going to be equal, but it's mutual, right? So that the franchisee has an opportunity to earn revenues and earn money that they'd like to be able to earn, whatever that may be. If they have an expectation to earn A, then be able to hit that A. To be able to hit B, great, right? So I think that's a very good point, is that it's mutually beneficial type of relationship.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really wise comments coming here. When we're trying to unpick what fair means,
Yeah.
mutually beneficial, is a great way of putting it. It's not about it being equal. It's about understanding responsibilities. It's about being transparent. This word keeps coming up. So, as long as franchisors, we are approaching this with transparency and we are trying our absolute best, whether we are in a regulated US type environment or whether we are in an unregulated. And I say
Mm.
unregulated, we have laws in the UK, but not specifically to do with franchising,
Yeah.
and but wherever you're at, whatever your market you're in, then just do your best as a franchisor to get across exactly what it is you are offering and what responsibilities are on each side and what's likely to change and how that might alter. As you said, that relationship changes, that franchisee franchisor life cycle. It's a natural life cycle that does change. And as franchisors understand how it changes and understand those nuances and those balances, but just keep that word transparency in your mind, and do your due diligence both ways. I think it's just really wise information. Let's have a look. We've got lots of comments coming in, so let's go to another one. Let's have a look here. This is one from Neil, and Neil's put, "I'm interested to know how these changes in relationships are measured over time." Okay, so we just mentioned there that over time, a franchisee is going to go through these distinct kind of sectors of that relationship. And I suppose it's different for each person. Do you have a method of seeing where they're at? Is it more of a feel? Is it feedback from your support team? How do you measure it?
Yeah, so I think it's several different ways. One is obviously from the operations standpoint, we continue to see the trajectory of their business, right? So as their revenues climb and change, we realize that the level of support they may need would be different than, let's say, when they first started the business, right? So that's one way we do measure. We also measure the type of questions that are coming in from them, the types of projects that they're taking on. Are they taking on larger commercial projects, which would mean that the relationship will change because of the types of questions that they're asking, the level of different type of support they may need. One of the things that we recognize is that as franchisees mature and get older, the level of questions change, obviously, from what a franchisee in the first year are asking, right? And the level of support, now when I say level, I don't mean like level like high or low, but I mean the types of questions, but also the type of support changes as well. The high end performer, the types of questions they ask, the type of support they need is different than, say, someone who may be starting off in the first 6, 9, 12 months, 18 months, right? So that's how we kind of start to measure what type of support is going to be needed for each franchisee. It can be a little bit different, obviously, on a case-by-case basis. And so that's why our operations team and any operations team needs to be mindful of that, right? Not everybody's the same. Not everybody has the same personalities. Not everybody has the same level of motivations. You might find certain franchisees are heavily motivated on the revenue side. I mean, that's what they get up every morning to do. They're hunters and they're going out to hunt and kill, right? That's what they do. Others, yes, they're excited about their business. Yes, they want to grow their business, but you know what they like? They like and they really expand on is being able to be praised, being able to say, "Hey, you're doing a great job. I'm proud of you. Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing." Doesn't mean that money's not important to them, but it's not the necessarily driving factor. The other driving factor is they want to have the good old boys. Hey, you're doing a great job, or hey, Melissa, you're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. Share your experiences with other franchisee peers. They'd love to hear from you, right? That's what people also strive on. So I think operationally, our team and any franchisor team needs to kind of understand what also is motivating their franchisees.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And great question, Neil. And, Neil's platform offers this way to try and question franchisees and get information between the two parties. So it's really interesting to talk about this as to whether, as franchisors, we can identify where people are on that cycle. Do they go forward and then backwards a little bit? But I think that we certainly, whether we're using a software platform or whether we're using our intuition, whether we're using our people and our skills to identify where people are on that life cycle, it's really important, because whether franchising is fair relates to where you are on that life cycle. So I love it. Great question, Neil. Thanks very much for that. Let's have a look at what we've got. Let's have a look at here, one from Tim. So Tim Morris. Tim's put, would you agree that one of the big drivers of interdependence is a well-functioning franchise advisory council? Are FACs an important aspect of ensuring fairness continues to flourish? That's a great question, Tim. What do you make of this one, Mike? Do you have these advisory councils as part of your network, and do they contribute towards fairness? Are they good things?
Absolutely, they are and can be very effective. I have also seen in different franchisors where they can be ineffective, and they can also become a hindrance. I think, again, it all stems from at the front end as you develop your FAC boards and groups, that you create the expectation on what you're looking for as a leader of the company. You're looking for certain types of folks to come in and actually provide good ideas, good counsel. You want them to be a kind of sounding board for different types of things that are going on within the network, new product development, things like that. But you also have to have people on the FAC that really understand that role and understand that they need to be folks that are very transparent as well, and be honest and be open, and at the same time be able to keep things from time to time, certain things confidential, right? Maybe because we're not ready to roll it out yet. Maybe we're not ready to share that information. We are wanting to get their feedback. We want them to poke holes in our thinking, in our strategy, right? But FAC, no doubt, can be very helpful in any group. And we have an FAC group. In fact, I'll be in Marietta, Georgia this coming weekend, and we have a FAC meeting on Monday all day. We have our FAC group flying in that we bring in, and we have a full day of meetings with them. But they definitely are great. I know that there might be some franchisors that steer away from it because they're fearful. But I think there's a lot more to lose by not setting one up. But again, I think the key is picking initially the right people. And I do think it's not unreasonable to think that you should pick folks that are, again, in compliance with the franchise, number one. They've got a good reputation within the franchisee group and with peers. They are doing things the way they should be doing them. I'm not necessarily saying they have to be all top performers. Not at all. They may be what we call kind of mid performers, but they've got a great attitude, and they're team players, and they want to see the brand grow, and they want to see other peers grow, and they themselves are growing, and they're happy with where they're at, but they may just be accomplishing what they have set out for their franchise to accomplish, and they're happy at that place, right? Those are the kinds of people that you need to bring on so that you can have a vibrant FAC.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And I think you use the word fearful. And I think you're right. Some franchisors are fearful of it. They're fearful of criticism, fearful of exposure, that they're not getting it quite right. But these things are there to drive us in the right direction, aren't they? If we're not getting it quite right, then fine, let's see why we're not. But you're right, putting it together, it's the dynamic will change depending on how you put it together. It's got to be transparent. It's got to be fair. It's got to be balanced. You've got to have people from various states of the life cycle. They're very tricky things to put together effectively. I was talking to somebody from McDonald's about it, and they've got all sorts of different ones, for all sorts of different areas of their business and life, the stages of the life cycle. It's fascinating stuff, but valuable, I think. But think about how you do them. Be transparent as to what people are going to get from them. But great question, Tim. Let's have a look. If you have just joined us, by the way, today, this is the Franchise Show. And today we are delving deep into Is Franchising Fair? And it's been a fantastic conversation with our amazing audience and my wonderful guest, Mike. And we're going to continue down this road and have a look at some more questions. So if you are here, please let us know, say hello, pop a question in, and we will get to it. Talking of that, before we get to some of these fantastic questions, we've got questions coming up from Johnny Joseph, from another one from Johnny, from Tim, and a couple from a LinkedIn user that we're going to find out who they are as well. But I would like to say hello to the fact that we have Charles Caldwell with us. Great to have you with us, Charles. And he is listening in all the way across from Hong Kong, I believe. So and there we go. Look, I was padding it out there because I couldn't find a comment there, Charles. Great to have you with us, Charles. Always a pleasure to have you with us, and I know it's probably about 1 a.m. where you are, so thank you so much for taking your time to be with us and share your experiences. I also want to say hello to Nadine, a regular on our show. Nadine has put, hi everyone, joining a bit late. Well, it doesn't matter when you join, Nadine, it's always good to have you with us. So let's have a look at this one from Johnny. And Johnny has put, I have witnessed one of my franchisor clients handle situations with significant underreporting of royalties that I have determined very fair that the amounts have been substantial and the franchisee has had significant cash flow, I'm going to have to go to here, detriment to the franchisor. At the end of the day, franchisor and franchisees are partners, and it's not the franchisor's interest to kill the franchisee with immediate payment demands. It's an interesting one. I mean, Johnny's about auditing. So, let's have a think about this, and let's have a delve into royalties. If someone's struggling, is it fair to demand those royalties, or is it about trying to help them find a way around it? What's your take on the sort of the royalties and fairness of taking those, as franchisees have their ups and downs through economic variances?
Yes, I think this is a very good point. Thank you for the question, Johnny. Yes, I think franchisors always should have an empathetic ear to this type of situations when franchisees are struggling. Now, I do also believe at the same time, we need to find out why they're struggling, right? We need to be able to also peel back the onion, as I may say, to find out what is it causing them to struggle. Are these perhaps, not always, but perhaps, are they self-inflicted struggles, right? Are they things that they are doing that's making the business struggle? Where are the monies going? I mean, if we look at it and say, look, the revenues look reasonable, they should be meeting these expectations on profitability, and why are they not hitting those expectations? Let's take a look at where are the spending going on, right? So I think it's reasonable for a franchisor to peel back that onion to find out a little bit more in regards to what's going on. And at that point, if the franchisor does feel like, you know what, yeah, they're being honest, they're being transparent. You can tell they really want the help. They love the brand. They still want to be part of the brand. They're eager to continue to grow the brand. They just need a little help here. Then I think it's important for the franchisor to open up their mind and their heart to be able to do something like that. Now, I would say it should be for a period of time, and there should be set in place, okay, here are the things that we've identified, the things that you need to do differently over the next 6 months, right? And here's some things that we as a franchisor have agreed that we're going to do on your behalf to assist you, right? And in 6 months, we're going to take a look at where you are in regards to your top line numbers and things like that to see where you are so that we can then work towards getting you back income, in a sense, get you back to where the royalty state you should be in, right? I think those are reasonable types of conversations and things that should be done. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think you summarized it really well. It's about peeling back the onion. I like that expression. Someone's struggling. Why? Is it sales? Is it profitability? And those two things are different. If it's sales, how do you help them get more sales? How do you support them? Can they support themselves? Are they doing everything they should be doing? And if it's profitability, like you say, what are their costs? Are they following the model in that sense? If everything's ticked, if they're doing everything they should, then, like you say, there's maybe something that can be done by a franchisor to help. But again, the word transparency comes up. Franchisee being transparent that they're struggling and being transparent about why, giving all of that information, and then a franchisor can take that and try and help using that experience, using the model, and try and do their best. A great question there, though. I really like that question. Thanks a lot for that one, Johnny. Let's have a look here. We've got a question. It says, look, I think royalty structures can evolve and must do so to benefit all parties. I think this might be Sean. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but Sean Goldsmith. And I think you're right. Not all royalty structures are right for every franchise business. And it needs to be considered carefully when you're setting your franchise business up. What is going to be a win-win for everybody, for your fantastic customers that are at the heart of your whatever business you're putting together and growing with your franchisees, and then it's got to be a win for your franchisees, and it's got to be a win for the franchisor. Everyone needs to feel like they're happy and successful with that structure. So I think you're absolutely right. It definitely needs to be thought about carefully. Let's have a look. I want to check that we've got a couple of people that I want to say hello to, because we've got loads of comments, so I want to get to these. We've got the lovely Joe Caruso with us. Always a pleasure to have Joe with us. Joe's put, better to focus on effectiveness than fairness, since franchise agreements have varying degrees of control and the franchise agreement is not the interdependent franchise relationship. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. What do you make of this one, Mike, to sort of concentrate on it being effective, not fair? I think that's the essence of our conversation anyway, that the word fair has different meanings, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, again, you're right. I mean, the word fairness can be interpreted many different ways. Maybe it's also not unreasonable to think that effectiveness can be interpreted many different ways as well.
Yeah.
Right. On the franchisor side, you might say effectiveness means this, and the franchisee side, they say effectiveness means this. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we can use all the different types of words that we want. Obviously, productivity is another one, right? How productive are they? Well, that can be interpreted different as well. At the end of the day, I think what we have to be able to do is obviously create a relationship with our franchisees that they really understand, and they see that we are doing all that we can to help them to grow their business. At the same time, they're doing everything they can to effectively grow their business as well, right? And also, too, I think it's very important on the front end to set goals and targets. We do that with franchisees. What are your targets? What are your goals? Oh, my first year is I want to be able to hit, I'm going to be careful about numbers, but just I want to hit Z, right? Z being high in my first year. Well, look, as a candidate, and all that, we have to be transparent. Say, we'd love for you to do that, but unfortunately, that's not realistic, right? Mm-hmm. And set the expectation. You're growing a business. You're building a business. It's going to take time, and you've got to be able to be patient, but do all the things necessary to build your business. So work with them to build out reasonable expectations of growth. If you exceed those, fantastic. But let's be realistic as well, right? I think that's the danger we run into, is when we don't set reasonable expectations.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Expectations goes along that transparency sort of road, doesn't it? Setting out and so that everyone is aware of what they're hoping to achieve. Is that realistic? Does that fit in with the expectations of the franchisor? And really important. Let's have a look, because we've got so many great questions.
Let me just interject one more thing, if you don't mind.
Please do.
One of the things that I also hear, even not just with CoolVu, but also other brands that I had worked with in the past, and I used to always get folks, candidates, and in different calls, either on a leadership level, having calls with them. But I would always sometimes hear from them, yeah, I spoke to this franchisee, I spoke to this franchise as part of my due diligence in my calls. And they're knocking it out of the park. I think they're really doing good, blah, blah, blah. And I really believe that I could do it just as well as them. And I used to always say that, look, please, I'm glad that you did your calls with franchisees, and you should randomly do them with whoever you want to do them with, right? We're not here to steer you to one or the other. You should randomly be able to talk to people. And I'm glad you did. At the same time, what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to make a decision based upon what A, B, and C franchisees are doing. I want you to make a decision based upon what you believe you're going to be able to do with our business model. Because number one, you're not them and they're not you, right? I believe your work ethic is high because you're telling me that, but I really don't know your work ethic until you actually get started, right? It's the old thing. People, typically will, the resumes look great, they interview great, but once they get into doing the job, it's the productivity that really determines if they were accurate in regards to how they represented themselves, right? So, in good faith, we believe the franchise candidate. We ask the questions, we try to probe, we try to peel back onion a little bit, like as I said earlier, right, about them and their background and skill sets, and what would they do this, how would they do that, right? But at the end of the day, we are going to rely on them to be transparent as well.
Definitely. No, 100%. Look, we've only got 2 or 3 minutes left of this section of the show, so I want to try and get to a couple more questions if I can. What I will say, if you put a question in and we haven't got to it live here in the conversation, Mike and myself are going to go to the questions on LinkedIn afterwards. We can have a look at it, and Mike certainly can put his thoughts, and this conversation will continue. So we will definitely try and get to them if we can. But let's take a couple more. So we've got a LinkedIn user here. I think it's again Sean, and they've put, would you be able to tell us what your thoughts are on franchise support to franchisee ratio, and how many people do you have in your HQ team versus number of franchisees? This is a really interesting one, actually, in terms of fairness. How do you grow your support team to make sure that you're supporting those franchisees as you grow your business? Is that just a feel, or do you have a real structured strategy in place for that?
Yeah, well, I think this all also depends on the type of model that you have too, right? I don't think the ratios work for every single model. It depends on the model itself. I mean, it'd be a restaurant model, or it'd be a home services model, or it be in healthcare, whatever it may be. I think the models can be different when it comes to those ratios. For us at CoolVu, we like the fact that we have what we call regional performance coaches. And those performance coaches are set up in 3 different regions across the United States. We also have folks at corporate that are the operational support team as well. So, I think we're in really good shape, and that started with us very early in the process. We did not and again, this is part of, again, the benefit of a journey that I had, right? Is you learn a lot of good things throughout the journey, but also you learn a lot of unfortunate things throughout the journey, right? That you say, I'm not going to duplicate this if I ever get in a position of leadership and be able to run a franchise, but I will do these things because these things work, right? So one of the things we did very early is to really identify how we're going to support our franchisee partners, right? Both from a regional standpoint, also from a national standpoint. What types of webinar calls we're going to have every 2 weeks for each region, what kind of field visit programs we're going to have, what kind of additional training strategies we're going to have. All of those were really kind of set up on the front end. So we were already anticipating what our growth is going to be and putting those resources and tools in place as we brought in new franchisees into our system. But as far as ratios are concerned, I mean, I've seen, for every operations specialist, there could be 50 franchisees that they oversee and support. I've seen some at 100, right? And I'm sure others out there who are listening today have seen other numbers as well. But I think what the key is to make sure whatever numbers and ratios you have, that it's effective, right? That you are seeing it's being effective and that franchisees are getting value out of it, but also the information that you need as a franchisor, you're able to get the information you need from your operations specialists that better give you direction on what needs to be done and changed or needs to be created to better support the franchisees.
Absolutely. We aren't really there, but we've got some amazing comments. I mean, there's a conversation that's going on versus royalties versus flat fees. Do you know what? I think that is going to be a topic of a future episode, actually. So I expect
we have a flat royalty, just so you know.
Well, there you go. There you go. I think it's going to be an interesting debate, actually. But unfortunately, we've run out of time today to get into that. I do want to recognize the fact that we've got Chris Rodriguez with us. Great to have you with us. And gosh, there's a long one here from Joe. We'll get into that. He's put, my take is that the essence of franchisee owner's relationship is it's fundamentally interdependent. And we've said this, and I think it's really true. One relies on the other for different things at different stages of the relationship. The franchisor supplies the brand, operational systems, training, and ongoing support that enable franchisees to operate efficiently and competitively. In return, the franchisee invests capital, manages day-to-day operations, and delivers the customer experience that brings the brand to life at local level, as you said, Mike. This independence means that the success of one directly impacts the other. And the franchisor depends on the franchise owners to protect and grow the brand. While franchise owners rely on the franchisor for tools and guidance to succeed, when this relationship is strong and well matched, it creates a scalable and mutually beneficial business model. I love that. Great way to finish there.
I love that comment.
Yeah, love it too. Look, we have run out of time on the first part of today's episode. Love the comments, love the conversation. It's been amazing. I've got 7 pages of notes now, so it's been brilliant. Well, look, this is the part of the show where for a moment or two, my screen will go blank because it's now technically illegal to see me without wearing a hat. So I've switched hats.
Nice.
Of course, this hat has been beautifully handmade for me by PJ Murphy and Sons, bespoke hatters. So if you'd like a lovely hat like this one, then reach out to Paul Murphy. He also works for a franchise business as well. So anyway, so this is the part of the show. There's a bit of fun, and we stop talking about franchising for a little bit, and we find out a little bit of information about our guest. It's also the chance for him to get his own back on me because Mike's answered all these questions wonderfully today, and he can ask me a question. So one more question for you, Mike. Tell us about a time perhaps you met someone famous, or do you have a claim to fame, or perhaps have you got an unusual sport or hobby? Let us know one of those.
Well, my sport and my hobby right now is, of course, playing golf. I don't play as much golf as I'd like to, but I do love getting out and breathing the fresh air and getting some exercise through golf. And I love also just the, having that camaraderie with being able to play with different people that I know. But I also enjoy playing with people I don't know, right? I mean, that really has opened my eyes to many different things in life as well, right? As I said in my franchise journey, you learn a lot from different people, and so that's been great. But golf is definitely a hobby of mine.
Love it. Mine too. Not very good at it, but no, fantastic. Great. Love it. Well, look, I did promise you that you can get your own back on me, Mike. So you can now ask me any question you like. And I never have any prep for these. So just ask me whatever you like.
Yeah. So my question for you is, have you ever been a franchisee yourself?
It's a good question. And I haven't. I've only been in franchising for 2.5 years. I mean, it was a good reason why I started doing what I'm doing here, because I'm curious and I'm interested. And I get to see from all sides of it. Would I love to be a franchisee? Yeah, I think I would. You know, and I'm getting a really interesting perspective. But no, I haven't been a franchisee or a franchisor. I'm still learning. Not new to life, but new to franchising.
Yes.
Great question, man. Great question. Love it. Well, look, we have now come to the end of another episode of the Franchise Show. So I would like to thank everyone who has been with us in our fantastic audience and community today. As I say at the beginning, you are the drivers, the directors, and the producers of this show. You're what makes it special. And I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Mike, taking his time to be with us and share his experience. It's been a fantastic conversation. So thank you, Mike, for being with us on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And that just leaves us with bringing you some information about what's happening next week on the show. So next Tuesday, 12th of August, we are talking to Steve Wozni. Now, Steve is a multi-site, multi-brand operator, a mumbo. He has over 120 locations as a restaurant franchise operator. So we're really going to delve deep from the perspective of a multi-site operator as to what that's like. So please join us for that conversation next Tuesday, 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST. Until next time, take very good care. Cheerio.
Cheerio.